All right, good afternoon. Square Watson, Chief Operations Officer. I move to open the real estate meeting for Monday, August 12th, 2024.
Is there a motion? Ms. Brittany?
Mrs. Banks? Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Borshade?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cousins?
Yes.
Mr. Heights?
Yes.
We have a quorum.
So today on our real estate agenda, we only have one presentation. This presentation will be conducted by Navigate to provide Prop S updates. Just to kind of put some context in regards to the work that has really happened since the end of school up through now. There were several packages, both north and south packages, restroom renovations, and within the packages, the north and south, it included whiteboard installation, painting, stair treads, exterior door replacements, and there'll be more information that Navigator present and provide to the committee. But I do want to give a special shout out to Navigate for the management of those projects, because that was a huge undertaking, just to make sure that schools not only get what they need in terms of capital improvements, but also making sure that schools will be ready August 19th. So with no further ado, I will turn it over to Navigate.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief Watson, and to Madam President Cousins and members of the board, and Dr. Borshade, SLPS leaders, Chief Banks. It's good to be here, and it's good to be able to be here. We are back by popular demand, as they say. We apologize. We had some pass outs, but we made some tweaks to our presentation at the 11th hour, so we'll be glad to distribute either electronically or physically copies of this presentation. But essentially, this body has seen this presentation before. As Chief Watson alluded, it's just given a where we are to date update with the Proposition S projects. I don't know if we have that. There we go. So there's 40 plus slides here, so unless we need to spend time on it, you've seen this before, our dashboard presentation, but for the sake of this body and the listening audience, we will touch on the funding sources, our projected schedule, the active projects, and then we'll go to upcoming projects. Our spend down is more in flux. We're still trying to get coming out of July into August, so we want to withhold that on our presentation for today. So as you've seen this before, this is the pyramid that we have been working with in terms of the funding from the district. For the sake of this presentation today, we only want to focus on the Proposition S projects. So that is the bottom of the pyramid, which is most of the revenue that's being generated, and most of the projects, in fact, all of the projects that we've touched on during the course of the summer. Here we have our schedule, just to make sure everyone understands it. At the top heading from left to right is our summer, fall, winter, spring schedule from a quarterly standpoint. On the left-hand side are all of the work activities and work descriptions that fall under the Prop S funding that we indicated on the previous slide. And then the column that is highlighted in red is our focal point to date. So we've moved from the last time we met from spring now to summer of 2024. If I may add, before we move on, there's continuous arrows. The arrows are indicative of three things. The activity on the left-hand side, they're either in design phase, they're either in the bidding phase, or they're actually in the construction phase. So those are the three main phases of a project. So not all of these are actually under construction. Some are actually in design as we speak. Also, if we can add The gaps in between the arrows are intentional. It just indicates that those are the time frames in which those particular projects can be completed. For instance, like playgrounds. We can only do playgrounds when there's inclement weather. So those are intentional gaps down below on this schedule. But all intents and purposes, this is the work that we're been knee deep in, and what is ahead of us to date. So, if we can go kind of work activity by work activity, flooring. These are the jobs that have been completed to date. Those are the ones that are in progress, and you can see the upcoming. So for the most part, as Chief Watson indicated, the lion's share of the work will be completed here in short order.
When you say the lion's share of the work, are you saying that the work for the most part is ready when it's time for the start of school, or help me out when you're saying that?
Yes, ma'am. As indicated on this slide, just for flooring, most of those flooring projects will be completed by a week from today.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And here's the dashboard. Thank you for those pass outs. Here's the dashboard for scope, schedule, and budget. It indicates what our risks are. The contingency plan includes any emergencies or anything that we might face in terms of how we need to pivot, what schools have been touched, what schools are pending, financially where we are, the board approved amount versus the contract amount versus the change orders versus the contingency amounts, et cetera, and then from a percentile standpoint, what is remaining in the work and what's been billed to date. Navigate, as a rule of thumb, we only show the work that has been billed to date, but the work billed to date always lags by the work that's actually in place. So we're actually ahead of what the percentile is showing. We're ahead of that, but it's kind of under promise, over deliver, showing what has been actually billed by the contractor. So it's just good business practice to do that. And again, this is Prop S. So I'm spending a little more time here on flooring, but as we move through the work, it's just rinse and repeat for each of the work activities.
So when it comes to your flooring, did you have any challenges or setbacks? I see you were saying some change orders. What change orders were you facing when it was coming to flooring? Did you see some unforeseen circumstances in regards to the flooring?
Great question, President Cousins. Most of the change orders were actually initiated by the district. We had some contingency funds available because Navigate was bringing subject matter expertise to each of the schools. So we were lockstep with the flooring contractor. So there was actually a surplus amount of money left, pool of money from the flooring work that was anticipated to be spent, but we didn't need it to be spent. So we change ordered work to Flooring Systems, the contractor, by the facilities team, saying, hey, since we got more money, let's do more projects within the district. So it's not like it's, the contractor driving this or, asking, for handouts. This was particular flooring was driven by the district. That said, there was some unforeseen conditions here and there. We were working in older buildings, so we did encounter some things, when we actually got into the flooring work, but they were minimal compared to the things I just mentioned in terms of change orders. Great question. And here are some pictures, some before and after shots, Warner, Adams, and Pomosia. And might I add, the principals are pretty happy with the flooring projects to date. As we move through the work, painting, those are the schools that have been completed. These are the ones in progress. Here's the dashboard for painting. Again, there was some painting, just to reiterate, there was painting that was initiated with 3 contractors for the $3 million threshold, and then we added more painting to the individual summer packages in the north and the south. So it's more than just $3 million worth, but we're doing it slide by slide. Here's the before and after shots for Shaw, Gateway, and Hamilton. And just if I can go back, the flooring and the painting, flooring-wise, we were doing carpet replacement, VCT replacement, as well as hardwood refinishing in the hallways and classrooms. For painting, much the same. It was walls in the classrooms, it was hallways, it's cafeterias. As you can see, it's an array of areas that we're touching in schools. Playgrounds completed.
I'm sorry, can I
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
another question?
Uh-huh.
When I'm looking at the painting and the flooring, and I see some of the colors, were the principals or the students or schools able to identify the colors of the painting? I kind of noticed some of the painting colors were in correlation with the school colors. I know sometimes people was like, why did they go with that color? Is it because they had like input on the colors?
Yes, ma'am. Not to throw anybody under the bus, but not everybody's an interior decorator. But every painting color was approved by the respective principals and staff.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that's good to know.
All right. Great question. So for playgrounds, these are the ones that completed to date. The only playgrounds that are in progress is punch list items, again generated by the district. There's a handful of schools that were waiting on musical instruments for our elementary kids that I think would be beneficial, so it's worth waiting for. So here soon, we should see those musical instruments be installed in their new playground areas. In fact, you see it here on the slide, Sticks, Walbridge, Wilkerson, Buda, and Malamphy. All I had to do was just read it. I was trying to go by memory. So here's the playgrounds. We're pretty much all but done with the playgrounds except for the musical instruments to date. And here are some candid shots of Malamphy and Walbridge. For the restrooms, we're touching to the tune of about 40-plus restrooms district-wide. There's quite a few restrooms that I know it's not all 68 schools, but 40 restrooms in the summer is a tall task. And so for the first batch, package A, these are the ones that were in progress. Here's the dashboard for that, and here are some candid shots for Dewey and for Lyon. One of the things that the last thing we're going to do for the package A restrooms is the epoxy floors. We noticed that a lot of over time, dirt just tends to bake into the floor. You can only clean it, custodians can only clean it for so long. And so we met with the facilities team, they agreed. So now the contractor is going to redo those floors to make sure that everything else blends. You know, if we're putting in new painting and new partitions, we don't want to have a floor that doesn't match. So the facilities team agreed, Chief Watson and his team agreed, so we will be touching those floors here soon. CVPA, CSMB.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I seem to be the only one that asks questions, I guess, because
No, you're all right.
this is my wheelhouse of what I love. Let's talk about restrooms. So you're saying in progress we have Yateman, Gilkey, Pomosia, Dewey, Warner, and Lyon. What schools do we have that have been completed for restrooms?
All of those have been completed for
Okay.
restrooms except for those epoxy floors.
Except for the epoxy floors. So
Yes, ma'am.
what do we have that's coming up? Are we gonna wait until the end of this year for the summer? Those are gonna be our summer.
Yes, ma'am. We're actually working with facilities to put together RFPs
Okay,
for the next round of restrooms.
okay. But that doesn't, but I know was Roosevelt in progress?
Yes, ma'am. There's a slide
Okay,
in it.
then you're
in the
gonna
deck.
come down.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm moving ahead. So
That's
these
okay.
are like your middle and elementary schools, and then, okay, you got a system. Okay, you didn't tell me you had a system. Okay, just help me out.
You all right, President
Okay,
Cousins?
okay.
Safe space.
And the other question I want to ask, and I don't know if this is probably a space for you all, and I know she got a lot on her plate, but I'm sorry. You know I'm coming to you. Chief Banks, part of this level of spending that we're speaking of, is this level of spending coming from the deficit spending?
Primarily, what Navigate is reporting on, I'd say the majority is Prop S, which is the bond.
Okay.
So those are the funds that, or the bond funds, we already have those funds. Most of them are invested. So to answer your question, no.
Okay, I was just curious. I wanted, because there's so many or misinformation being put out there. We poor, all those things. I just want to make sure that we're getting clarifying information. But thank you for that, ma'am.
So to piggyback, if I may, President Cousins, on Chief Banks, and she's absolutely correct. Even if she wasn't correct, I wouldn't correct her here. But we're spending between $80 and $90 million. This work that we're showing you to date for Prop S.
So far to date, of the Prop S bond monies, the district has spent about $80 million of what you've
That's
presented.
allocated.
That's
Yes,
been
ma'am, to this
allocated
work.
to date. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Banks.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that of the $160 million that was approved, only $135 million of bonds were actually issued. So we still have $25 million of Prop S bonds that we still need to sell and get those proceeds. And that is a process that could take 8, 10, 12 weeks. So we're really waiting for the facilities team along with Navigate to really give us the go ahead so that we can get that in process.
But it basically takes this is all a process to do. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Yep. All great feedback. So CVPA, CSMB, and Gateway STEM were the two high schools that we wanted to roll out this summer in terms of the restrooms. Between the two high schools, there's about 7 restrooms at CVPA, and there's about 5 or so in Gateway STEM. So if that paints a picture for you, so just between the two, there's at least 12 between these two high schools. And we, for obvious reasons, we targeted both of those, Gateway being the largest high school in the district, and CVPA being the flagship school for the district, is why we targeted. And it goes back to President Cousins' comment that right now we're looking at the next round, the next iteration of work that plays into the bond issue. So we're working feverishly with Chief Watson and his team to come up with that list, that priority list. But this also, if I might add, and I may not get into this specifically, plays into the facility conditions assessment, which Cordigan Clark will give an update here in the next couple of weeks, where the district will have full information to make, to make an informed decision. So there is truly a process, as President Cousins mentioned. I digress. Here's the dashboard for Gateway STEM restrooms. And we have one contractor, I'm sorry, who's got multiple contractors working under them, one GC, to make this happen during this summer. And here's some candid shots of both CVPA and Gateway STEM. And then keep in mind, these pictures reflect what has been done kind of through July, so now we're into August. So the work is actually ahead of what we're showing. Yes, Secretary Jones?
How many restrooms on Gateway's first floor, and how many on the second floor? This is a pretty big building.
I believe at Gateway STEM, all of the ones that we're touching are on the first floor. Hold on. Yeah, if you see, there's first floor and ground floor. The upper floors kind of plays into the ADA, which creates more of a design aspect. We are working on those as we speak, including the all-inclusive restrooms. Cordigan and Clark, and this is an iteration, right? So Cordigan and Clark is actually touching both of these schools and looking at the upper floor restrooms that will be an future RFP for the board to vote on here the end of this calendar year.
And when you say all-inclusive, meaning what now?
Gender neutral
Okay.
restrooms. For CVPA. Yep, specifically.
What, not for Gateway?
No, we were looking at CVPA first as a pilot in terms of what the district's appetite would be and the public's voice would be
Okay.
before we proceed with designing, all-inclusive restrooms for the rest of the high schools.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Amoresco being one of the ESCO contractors, they both have a restroom contract and an ESCO contract. This is the ESCO contract. They're working in boilers. The School of Thought, the district, by October the 15th, goes from AC to heating and to the heating aspect. So the thought is, while there's hot weather and the chillers are working, to work on the boilers. Then once those are online, after October 15th, we will now redirect our attention to the chillers and the cooling towers. So we're off season, making sure that we work off season to put in new boilers, to put in new chillers and that sort of thing. So just wanted to keep that in mind. Here's the dashboard for Amoresco, and here are some pictures to reflect the boiler work at Clyde C. and Walbridge, Washington, and Pomosia. Here are the restrooms for Amoresco. To your question earlier, Secretary Jones, about upper floors, Walbridge and Yateman, the second and the third floor of those buildings, Amoresco has renovated. And we looked at those two. Abe, those are kind of flagship schools for the district, but we also was able to look at those schools, and it was found the least path of resistance in terms of ADA and that sort of thing, and that's why we earmarked these two, for the upper floors. So it worked out for us in our benefit in our planning. So here's the dashboard for Amoresco and the restrooms, and here's some pictures of second floor and third floor. And to President Cousins' point, these restrooms will be completed come first day of school a week from today.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
What do we usually do? Do we usually do design build, or what we're looking for, or you know what I'm
Yes,
trying to
yes,
say?
sir, I do.
Plan and spec. What do you do? Plan and spec or design build?
So the other restrooms are plan and spec, but the Amoresco restrooms were more design build. They had their own internal design team, and they're building it, within the ESCO parameters. Yep. Great question.
I have a question.
Yep.
I see that you're saying, I hear you saying that it will be ready on August 19th. School starts on August 19th. So are you meaning to say August 16th?
Yes, ma'am. August 16th. Sorry, Doc. Didn't mean to. Great question, Dr. Warshay. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. August 16th. That brings up a good point, and Chief Watson knows this. We have now shifted all our contractors to off-shift work and allow our facilities teams, the custodial teams, the warehouse teams, the maintenance teams to prepare for first day of school. So right now, your teams are in their first shift, and then our contractors are going to work off shift, knowing full well they can't leave a mess, they can't, disrupt the preparation for first day of school, to your point. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Package B, These were the two that we touched for package B. Here's the dashboard, and you have it before you. And here are some candid shots. Oh, here are some candid shots at Long. For Long Middle, we don't have any for Louverture, but they look like this, and these restrooms will be completed as well. They turned out well. If you ever want to go see them, it's a tremendous transformation at the restrooms in these buildings and
So
facilities.
exciting. This
Yes,
just
ma'am.
really is. I'm so happy. I want to see the kids' face. I hope you do a survey or something to ask them how they feel about it, because
Yeah.
it makes a big difference in their attitude.
It does, and I think the part that I wanted to mention is we asked the public for this. We asked for the Prop S bond, and we got the 87% support. But to be able to show what we're actually doing with the taxpayer dollars means a lot. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest promises was the restrooms, and we're actually delivering it. I think sooner rather than later. I think it's actually rolling out. The bond was approved in August of last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm feeling old. My memory is leaving me. About 2 years ago. So to really be able to have this rolling out, it really shows that we really have been putting in some serious work, because this takes a lot to be able to do. Not only have we been able to show restrooms, the painting, to see Yateman School being listed on there is really phenomenal. And I know Secretary Jones' face lit up just like mine. Walbridge was one of the first schools that I actually worked at as a community ed coordinator. But to see the playgrounds there in that area that is so needed, to me, you're really changing lives in just a simple way. So I'm extremely excited to see what we've been able to do with the support of the community.
And I just want to piggyback on that. Let's plan for a day for the community to come in and see the work that has been done. Promises made, promises kept.
Yes. Received. We're almost there. North Summer renovations. To your point, President Cousins, about painting and what have you. These are the general work packages that touches a little bit of everything in the buildings. The work that's in progress and the work that's upcoming. Some work we can continue to do work behind the scenes, like light fixtures. We can change those bulbs and fixtures off hours, off shift, over the weekends. So that's ongoing. The district still does it with the maintenance team, so no harm, no foul. But truly, like stair treads and things of that nature will be completed by the time the scholars come back. So here's the dashboard for the North Summer renovation work. And here are some candid shots of the Sodan whiteboards, Yateman whiteboards, the painting that sticks, the fire alarms at Herzog, and some more painting at Yateman, as President Cousins mentioned. Same thing for the South. This is the work that is in progress and the work that's upcoming. Might I add, right as we speak, CVPA and CSMB are this week going to get the exterior doors replaced. The storefronts with the Armor Defend product, that is the secured product that the district has adopted. So before the scholars get back, which is August 16th for us, just to be clear, August 16th for us, but before the scholars come back, those storefronts will be Armor Defend capable. So really this is a wonderful thing for the district and for our scholars. Here's the dashboard, and here are some candid shots for our South facilities at Bush, also at Woodward, and there's many, many pictures that we can provide, to your point, Dr. Bourget, that we can invite the parent community and whatnot to get a bird's eye view. Garland Roofing, as we come to the close almost at the end of this presentation. Garland, we are at 3 different schools. There was a question? No? Yeah.
gonna ask you to, at Yateman, were we able to do anything with the ceiling tiles?
Yes, we're working with the facilities teams. Once now that things have happened, facilities teams are going to replace those ceiling tiles on the 3rd floor. Yes, sir. And we'll get to see that when we, I know this is a different committee, but the Prop S committee, when we have our quarterly meeting at Yateman, we'll be able to see that. I believe that's next month. But Garland Roofing is going to be touching multiple buildings. You can see what's in the queue, what's in progress. CVPA will be completed the 16th. Amen. The 16th, before the scholars get there. Garland's doing a great work. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge this week because we got pop-up showers, but weather permitting, we feel confident that we're at a level where we can still, bring it across the goal line. So Garland's working feverishly. Here are some shots at Beaumont and at Roosevelt and CVPA, CSMB. And then upcoming, before we get to the questions, more roofing, more tuck pointing. We just let the tuck pointing at CVPA, at Laclede, at Hamilton, and at Humboldt. Those are the 4 that we're starting with. Again, that doesn't impact staff or scholars, so we can do exterior work without getting in the way of the learning environment. More HVAC upgrades, as we mentioned about boilers versus chillers. Auditoriums are in design. 6 of the 12 high schools are being designed out as we speak by Cordigan Clark. Signage, we've already walked CVPA and had a conference call with City Fire, and we're going to engage the city police. Colonel Davis was, and EOP was a part of that process, so you'll start to see those flags and the color-coded signage go up in the buildings and facilities. And then the window replacements are going to take place at CVPA with the same Armor Defend product as the doors.
Can I add, and I know we put a lot of emphasis on CVPA and CSMB, but I want to make sure that the public understands and knows we're doing this across the board for the district, especially when we're looking at signage. We're looking at, and I really would love for Chief Watson and Dr. Borshay to bring more insight into where and what that is, as much as you all can share, because I know it's not too much that we want to go into, and I know at some point the families will be told at the open house. But in regards to the EOP, what you're working on and how the principals and the staff are actually doing that with the fire and the police department and creating those emergency teams that are doing kind of the walk-arounds for their buildings, how we as a district are really focusing more so on how we're ensuring that all of our buildings are secured on several layers, if that makes sense, especially with our signage, making sure we are communicating and have a better crisis communication plan when it comes to whatever layer of crisis we may be facing.
The signage. So, I've always been asking about the digital signage outside. Will that be included anywhere in the district?
As far as digital signage,
Yes, outside.
we would have to work with Chief Watson and facilities. We're still early in the process to include that, because it's both interior and exterior signage. So to be clear, we're talking about wayfinding signage. We're talking about room numbers. We're talking about ADA. So on the outside, those marquees can certainly be a part of that as we kind of design out. So we're still in the design phase in the signage, because the vendor has to physically walk each of the open schools. So certainly we can, make note of what this body would like to see happen in terms of identification, premise identification.
And the only reason why I mention is because there are so many schools that have so many wonderful programs, and you look at the outside of the building, you don't know really what's going on the inside. And I just love to be able to go by one of our buildings or all of our buildings and just know, hey, they have some great programs in there,
Yes.
Yeah, after school, all of that. So I'm looking forward to what you come up with. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Duly noted. Thank you, Secretary Jones.
Thank you. Going to the EOPs, the Emergency Operation Plans, all of our schools have been tasked with completing their emergency operation plans and uploading them. We have completed our emergency operation plan here at Central Office, and as a result, it has also sent a link notifying all of the schools that they need to do some updates as well. As a result of that, there is also walkthroughs that schools are completing, and so they have created teams, safety teams, and with those safety teams, they are walking their buildings and looking at wayfinding signs and other signage that needs to happen, as well as identifying some hazards or risks that may be in the school. And once they do those things, it uploads and it's going to feed us that information. And once we have that information, then we will have a task list that we must respond to. Chief Watson?
Thank you for that, Dr. Borshade. And with that information that we will get from this site assessment, this will help drive another tool that will help drive what our future projects will look like. So we're already looking at some of the not only exterior doors, but some of our delayed egress projects, which are those sound, the noise that generally is made whenever you open our doors, our exterior doors. But this is an 800 questionnaire that all schools have to have completed by today. So it's very intense, but it also allows for the schools to basically like an eye opener in terms of what we need to look at, from exit signs, just to lighting in the closet, the storage areas. I mean, it highlights everything, and that information again will be used to drive potential and future projects within the district.
MSBA.
So, and I think the last qualifier for this particular application, it is one of the MSIP standards. So one of the safe and secure, I believe is L6, L10. We get the precise, and we'll provide that at our next real estate committee meeting. But this is a part of one of the standards to ensure that we do have not only safe buildings, but uploading this into the platform, into this MSBA platform will allow transparency, not only just for our schools, but for first responders as well. So this will put us in compliance with Missouri State standards.
And I just want to add, because I know Chief Banks wants to say something, which she should, because she's awesome. But I did have an opportunity to go over to Roosevelt High School, and it was pouring raining, like pouring. And it was raining on the inside. That's how hard it was raining. And we actually saw, like, the roofers, like, all the materials out there. So it is so, overwhelming, exciting to see this happening, especially at that school. That is a large building, and certain parts of the building that we were going in, it was raining so hard that you really started seeing, the water like coming from all different areas, even in the classroom. So I can only imagine, what the students were facing, what the teachers were facing. So to know that they're getting a new roof, that this issue will not be anymore, is so refreshing, and knowing that this is what we have been fighting for. And hopefully we don't have to see the brown stains and the towels and things of that nature, because you're not putting a Band-Aid on the problem anymore. You're actually addressing the true problem. And this is again, taxpayer dollars at work. So I want to commend everyone for putting in some serious work on this. Thank you.
And if I could add one other note to that, President Cousins, this is definitely something that was needed for all of our facilities in terms of some of the capital repairs, in particular to our infrastructure. And one of the other great news that we just kind of heard last week was that we were awarded the Renew America grant for over $11 million to help add more to our infrastructure and our HVAC systems. So this is just more that we can do to improve our schools, and particularly to make sure that on those rainy days, sunny days, winter days, that our buildings, our infrastructure are protected, and our students, our scholars, will be able to have an environment that they can learn, our teachers can teach. So I did want to, I know with Ms. Kane in the development department, I know Navigate also was also involved with that proposal that was awarded, and I think we got phase 1, 2, and 3, which was rare for them to award that at such an early time. So there's more to come, but this has been a lot of good intentional work over the past 6 months, and there's still more to come.
Yeah, I think it's just such great opportunities for St. Louis and for our contractors and vendors. And I guess my question is either to you or Navigate. I know we have a lot of contractors and vendors that want to participate in such a great opportunity. Do we have any participation rates for WBEs or MBEs at this point?
Yes, the short answer is yes, Chief Banks. Part of what we were going to show was that spin down that incorporates all of the minority and women-owned business enterprise percentages and contract dollars. So we are hitting our targets, and we are spreading the wealth. So hopefully by the next committee meeting or so, we plan to show that to this body. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to say I really do appreciate, because to Donna's point, we want our kids to love where they go to school. You know, it's so much easier to get up to go someplace you like to go to, as opposed to, how we used to do it back in the day. Oh, man, I got to go. But I really appreciate the work you guys are doing, because we couldn't do it by ourselves, so we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem. No, thank you for the opportunity. I speak on behalf of our team. That this is what we do, this is what we enjoy, and as you all have heard me affectionately mention, this is home base for me. I'm a proud SLPS alum, so it's not just a job, it's personal for me. I have family members that still attend this school district, generations before me, so I'm tickled pink. That's hard to do, but I'm tickled pink, so thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you, Navigator. Are there any other questions regarding the Prop S updates?
No other questions.
So at this time, I move to adjourn our open session, and we will move to closed session.
Second.
Mrs. Banks?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Borshade?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cousins? Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.